Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second stream with amazing female artists. We are so glad you were able to join us tonight. Hopefully, you have some interesting questions for the artists, and hopefully, you're ready to see their beautiful, beautiful art. As always, we will be presenting everybody's art first, and then you will get to ask questions at the end of the stream during our discussion section. But feel free to put down any comments, any likes, smiley faces, support messages for our artists. We love all those. And of course, tonight we have another beautiful charity. It's under our video link. We're raising money for women today. So if you'd like to check out the charity, you can click on their link. There's more details on their page. Feel free to donate. All donations are welcome. Any shares, likes, anything, everything helps. We'll be discussing important topics today, as always. So any shares are appreciated. And without further ado, I would love to start with our first beautiful, beautiful artist who earlier today I said I was going to call her Belle because she actually played Belle in Beauty and the Beast. So everybody who's in theater knows that we just end up calling each other by character names. But her real name is Kiera, and I would love to present her right now. And she's going to talk about herself and her art. Here we go, Kiera.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. So again, my name is Kiera. I am from Maryville, Indiana. I currently live in Florida. I went to Franklin College where I majored in music and I minored in theater. Um, the arts has been a very important part of my life. My father is a musician and filmmaker. My mother was a singer and dancer. We actually did a couple shows together, and I actually performed in a couple of shows with my siblings as well. I've been singing pretty much since I could talk. Theater was something that was kind of later in life for me. I originally wanted to be a pediatrician growing up, but then one of my closest friends, Tony, who unfortunately passed away, she actually got me into theater, and I changed, and now here I am doing that. I've been doing that since middle school, where I got to meet the lovely Mike and Melinda Reinhardt. And I've done lots of shows with them through middle school, through high school, and in the summer, I've had lots of lead roles. I got to play Martha in The Secret Garden, Lori in Oklahoma, Cinderella in Cinderella, and then one of the last shows I did with them was Belle in Beauty and the Beast, like she had said. Um, in college, I was in pretty much every single show I auditioned for except for one. Just a little salty, but it's okay. So pretty much every single show I auditioned for in college, I was in. I had a lead role in Iris, Still Life with Iris, and I actually won Best Actress in Side by Side by Sondheim my junior year. So that was a lot of fun. Again, currently I live in Florida. I work at Disney World. I'm in children's activities at Disney, and in Universal, I'm actually in entertainment. I started off in Halloween Horror Nights this past year, so if any friends came in Florida to Halloween Horror Nights through the Stranger Things house, you would have seen me. I got to meet Erica. I actually got to meet her. She came through the house and we took pictures. If you go on my Facebook, you will see that there are pictures of me and her. So that was a really, really fun experience. And currently, I am in the TriWiz show at Universal, so that has been a lot of fun. So what you're going to see today is one of the last shows I did back when I was in Maryville, Indiana. And it's going to be home from Beauty and the Beast again. I got to play Belle, so I got to be not just one Disney princess, I got to be two. And that was the last show I got to do before I moved to Florida and actually got to work at Disney. So I got to be a Disney princess and then work at Disney World. So that is kind of cool. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Thank you so much. And Julia, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Yes, I made the choice. For Papa, I will stay. But I don't deserve to lose my freedom in this way. You monster! If you think that what you've done is right, well then, you're a fool. Think again. Is this home? Is this where I should learn to be happy? every day in my childhood, even when we grow old. Home should be where the heart is, never a word so true. My heart's far, far away, home is true. What I'd give to return to the life that I knew lately, and to think I complained of that dull provincial town. Is this home? Am I here for a day or forever? Shut away from the world until who knows when. Oh, but then, as my life has been altered, once it can change again. Build higher walls around me, change every look and key. Nothing lasts, nothing holds all of me. My heart's far, far away, home and
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be doing Q&A, so ask any questions, but I'm going to be passing the torch to my next friend, Reesie. So whenever you're ready, Miss Reesie.
Hi, my name is Reesie Davis. I'm Executive Artistic Director of Praise Productions. We are an arts-based organization on the south side of Chicago. We make 10 years this December, so we're walking into our 10th anniversary season. We have 3 major platforms. We have a Performing Arts Academy for youth and adults. Our outreach platform, we partner with CPS and other organizations to bring arts enrichment to young students. And we also have a professional company, Rise Pro Elite. I've been a professional artist for well over a decade now. I danced professionally with Joe Hall's company out on the north side of Chicago for about 3 seasons. I've directed and produced and choreographed 9 full-length productions, 7 of which have won Black Excellence Awards and Black Theater Alliance Awards. And I'm so happy to be here to share my artistry with you guys. So thank you so much for having me. Oh, we're going to see a small snippet of my piece, Stand Still, from my production, Revival, The Answer, which was produced in 2018. This production actually won Black Excellence Award for Best Choreography and Best Company. So I hope you guys enjoy. You'll be watching our professional company, Rise Pro Elite. Welcome back. Like I said, this was Stand Still, a piece from our award-winning production Revival The Answer. The dancers that you saw are from Rise Pro Elite Professional Company, Brianna Arthur, Dominique Atwood, and Erin Barnett, who performed that piece beautifully. That was one of my very first ballets that I choreographed. And still to this day, after 9 productions that I've choreographed through Praise Productions, is probably one of my favorite pieces, just because it intertwines spirituality, technicality, and artistry. And I felt like those 3 dancers just really, really took the choreography somewhere else, where I really felt like it transcended from the stage. So kudos to them. Love you guys. Thank you so much for your dedication. With no further ado, I will present to you Minova.
Hello, my name is Minova. Out of the 4 of us ladies here today, I am the only non-professional performing artist. So for me, I mean, I do some singing on the side. I've been singing since I was about 8, when I was in a professional choir for a few years. And then I sort of branched out after that on my own. I also used to do princess parties for Julia, which was a really great experience for me because I love kids. And so that's the reason why I'm here, basically as a friend of Julia, and because I think this is a great topic to be talking about. Unfortunately, we're having technical difficulties with my performance. So we will hopefully have that uploaded at a later time so that you guys can see a little bit of my singing. But I think for now, we're probably going to move on to the discussion. So I will pass it on to Julia.
All right, thank you so much, all of you. And yes, like Minova said, we are just waiting for her video to be ready, and then once it's ready, we'll make sure to play it for you. So you'll get to see it either on the stream today, or I'll make sure to post it on the page after. And yes, Minova was one of our beautiful princesses. I remember she actually played a couple of times that you played Elsa. Yeah, I remember you recorded Let It Go. You recorded Let It Go, and I was like, oh my God, she has such a pretty voice. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't know why you're saying you're not professional, but from what I've heard, you're pretty good. But anyway, you guys will get to watch your performance later. And now we're going into our discussion section. As some of you may already know from our previous streams, we take both live questions from the audience, so that's you guys, and also we have some anonymous questions that come in during the stream or before the stream. And we also have some discussion points that we discuss in advance, something that we want to like touch on during the stream. So we've got a list of those as well. So if anybody has any questions for our beautiful artists, feel free to put them down in comments. But we would love to start with one of the questions we had before from one of our previous streams, actually. This one actually comes up a lot. So it was a general question about being women, like what it's like to be women, what it's like to be female artists. And also a lot of people asked, what is it like to be female artists of color? So if you ladies could touch on any of those points, female artists, just being a woman of color, being a woman of color who is also an artist, any like, you know, any struggles that come with that, any positive things, anything at all, like life examples, anything you'd like to touch upon.
Well, I can get started. A positive thing. I got to play 2 Disney princesses. I got to play Cinderella and Belle and the Beast, who are typically not princesses of color. So at first it was kind of scary, but in both of those shows, I got to actually interact with kids, and one of the like most positive experiences that made me feel like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do with my life, was the fact that the kids would come up to me and they didn't see that I was Black. They saw that I was Cinderella, I was Belle. Like when I played Beauty and the Beast, we had a tea time with Belle, and I was reading from Beauty and the Beast, so they had like, the belle, the non-black belle, and they were saying, oh, that's you in the pictures. And even there was coloring sheets of Belle. Some of the girls colored Belle black, like stuff like that was very positive. So I was very grateful for those experiences because it made me feel good, because I was kind of worried about how the kids were going to react if they were going to be like, that's not the actual Cinderella and Belle. And even with Cinderella, my director's nieces, she had gotten them for Easter different princesses as dolls, and she got one of them a Cinderella doll, and they traded it. And she asked why she traded it. She said because that's not the real Cinderella. The real Cinderella is brown skin. So that was a really positive experience for me. So
I think some of the experiences I had, I started Praise Productions, the organization, at 25, right out of grad school. So for the last 10 years of my life, honestly, this has been my baby, starting a business from the ground up. So sometimes you get those social pressures of like, you're 34, why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? And honestly, being an entrepreneur, that is your marriage, that, this is your baby. So putting off some of the, societal norms that, we kind of put on today's female in society, definitely I didn't fit that trade right now because I was so focused on growing my business and expanding my artistry, going professionally as a dancer as well. And then also, being a Black woman, you're a double minority, of course, that came with challenges as far as getting funding as an organization that serves people of color in our underserved communities in the South Side of Chicago. As far as, going into those boardrooms, of course, being young, I was only 25 when I first started. So people, sometimes thinking that it can take advantage because I didn't know, so being of course, being young and being African American and being a woman, definitely I had to be bold and confident in what I was doing. And I think that's something that I try to pass down to my young adult dancers and also my youth dancers to, definitely whatever you do, go boldly in it. You're going to face challenges as we all do, especially, women of color. But, you stand on the gifts and the talents that that God's blessed you with, and be confident in that and go after, those things that you need to push you forward, like funding and contracts and different things like that.
Press the wrong button. So for me, I've sort of had a similar experience to Kiera. So as Julia mentioned earlier, I have played Elsa before, who is very white and has very blonde hair. And I think most people would be surprised that I could pull that off. But, there's something sort of magical once you put that costume on and you sing those songs, especially with children. They don't know the difference. All they care about is who you are, what you like, and the sort of image that you're presenting and the personality that you're giving them. So as long as you sort of fit into that role, that's all that really matters. So I think, especially for like Kiera and I, who like to do princesses, it's actually being a woman can be a good thing because we get the fun parts.
All right, thank you so much for that, ladies. All this talk about princesses just makes me smile. It's so good. I guess for princesses, as long as you're wearing the right dress, kids are like, I don't care. It's Cinderella has to have a blue dress, so does Elsa. As long as you've got that covered, you're good. And of course, beautiful singing voices, which both of you ladies have. So that's also important. So for those of you watching, I don't see any questions from anybody yet. We do have a lot of supportive comments and shout outs. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate those. But if you do have any questions at all, we're comfortable, or the artists are comfortable with answering anything, because these streams are supposed to be educational also. So feel free to put them down in comments or send them anonymously to this page from which the video is streaming. Meanwhile, we will go on to the next question, which we got anonymously. The anonymous questions are usually the ones that are not so friendly, and I guess that's why they're anonymous, but these questions have got to be asked. So this one, actually, there's actually a few different people who asked or made comments on this, so I guess I'll just summarize it. So there are a few people who say things like, "Oh, for example, you're gay and also black, so you're untouchable. There's like, if I mistreat you, everybody's going to be on your side, and I'm going to be like, they're going to destroy me." So also I've heard the same things said about black women. So they're like, "Oh, this person is a woman and she is also black, so that's like double protection. So no, I can't say anything or like hurt them in any way." So I actually had an argument with that person and tried to prove them otherwise, but they were like, "No, like women are protected, especially black women." So your thoughts on that? Examples, life stories, anything?
I mean, I kind of laugh, but I guess you kind of learn how to laugh and keep from crying, because to say that black women are protected and we just see what's happened to Breonna Taylor's just ignorant. I think we're the least protected out of all genders, out of all races. And we've seen that with Breonna Taylor. We saw it with even the rapper Meg Thee Stallion. When she gets shot, we then persecute her opposed to the person who actually shot her. So I think to walk around and not acknowledge systemic racism is irresponsible and is ignorant. And to see and to not acknowledge how that has affected people of color, how it's affecting our resources, our funding, opportunity, is just totally irresponsible. And I think that speaks to what systemic racism is. That at the very root, you're still saying, "Oh, you're most protected," but you're ignoring clear cases that we're seeing in the media of how we are as African American women and women of color. So no, I think most of the times we have to fight, if not twice as hard, 3 times as hard, 4 times as hard. Getting into school, seeing certain roles, being even having the opportunity for those roles, go from beyond roles to be the person behind the desk, giving other women of color opportunities. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start a business, because I was like, yes, I wanted to be a professional dancer, but I didn't want to be Misty Copeland. I wanted to be the woman who signs Misty Copeland's checks. Because after she can't dance anymore, the other one's going to still have a job. And not only that, I wanted to make sure that I gave women of color that opportunity, which is why I started the business in the first place. So when I hear comments like that, I can sit here and say, you know what? Yeah, we still have people like that who have so much to learn, and who are going to be clearly just, ignorant to what's really going on in today's society, what's been going on for generations. But then I can be that change in my society. I can be that change in my community. I can give these opportunities to the next generation, the next Debbie Allen, the next Misty Copeland, the next Julia Jameson. And I think that's the way we paved the way, as Kiera is doing, as Minova is doing. Showing them as models, like, those young girls, seeing them as Black princesses is giving them exposure. It's giving them, a different, even giving people, those youth that are not Black, you're giving them another opportunity to see people of color in these spaces. And I think that's the main thing that we need to do: opportunity, exposure, and experience. And, I feel like that's what we're kind of doing within our everyday lives and with our livelihoods. But that's what I choose to do. I choose to be the opportunity and be that medium, so then we can go against some of those comments that we're hearing.
So for me, the topic is a bit, it's actually hard for me to really put into words, because it's mostly because of where I grew up. So I grew up in a very, very small town in Canada. There was only one other family of color in my whole town. But I was lucky enough that we were treated differently, but we were treated differently like in a sort of, people were interested in a good way. So I never really had to, I never experienced anything different than my white friends did, or even my male friends did. I think I was really lucky about that. So it's really just something that I've had to get used to as an adult. So for example, when I first moved to Toronto, I was 19, and I thought there was no such thing as racism. Like, I literally didn't think it existed at all. And then I moved here, and I noticed that some people would treat me differently, and I didn't understand what it was. Like, I didn't know that it was racism. Like, I had to, sort of internalize and talk with my friends and try to sort of figure it out, why people were treating me differently. And that's when I realized that that's what it was. It was racism. And I think that is something important for us to be talking about, because sometimes, I was ignorant, and I'm a person of color. I was ignorant to it. So I can definitely agree that it is important for people to be educated about it, not just white people, but everyone needs to know what's going on and how we can stop this. And also the same thing goes towards being a woman. As we know, there are glass ceilings that still need to be broken. I think it's something that is not spoken about enough, because people are sort of going with the status quo, and we've been just used to being sort of second-class citizens for so long, that the progress that we are making is very, very slow progress. And so I think it is a good thing for us to be talking about, because that progress needs to be a little bit faster, so that we can kind of be on the same level as the males, especially in our industry.
So yeah, actually, I have to agree with Minova. I was very ignorant when it came to racism. I thought it was racism to me was just the hardcore racism. Like, it was like they said, I don't like black people. That was racism. I told, not hearing and growing up hearing stuff like that, I actually didn't either. It didn't take till the college I went to, Franklin College. It was a predominantly white institution, and my freshman year philosophy class, shout out to Dr. Chandler, opened my eyes to everything. He was a white man, and he just explained, he literally started off the class saying, I'm a racist, but not in the aspect of I'm prejudiced against anybody, but I have privilege that other people, don't have. And it was opened my eyes to just things like, new color Band-Aids were, not new for us colored Band-Aids, stuff like that. Just the smaller things of white privilege that people don't realize. A lot of people feel like white privilege means that the life was just easy. It was the smaller things of even just having professors of color not being a thing. I can name I can probably have only name on my 5 fingers how many professors of color that I had, let alone that I saw. So it was kind of a shock too for me, because I, again, just like Minova said, I didn't really experience it. And then some of the things that I looked back on and just realizing, I'm oh my God, that wasn't okay. I worked at the drive-thru at Steak and Shake, and this lady came up and she was like, that was you on the microphone? Wow, you sound so clear. And at first I'm yeah, thanks, because cool, yeah, I sound clear. And it's just thinking about why was that such a big deal to you that it was me that was, on it, stuff like that. I'm just wow, she probably didn't think that I was gonna, speak like that. So yeah, it was definitely a culture shock. It's definitely something that a lot of people need to learn. And it was definitely a shock for some of my friends, because I said, I went to a predominantly white institution, and a lot of my friends that I made, never had experiences with a woman of color before. So I am grateful that because of how I was raised and stuff like that, that they came to me with questions and stuff like that, and I could be the person that was kind of the bridge to help them be more open to things. But yeah, a lot of things that need to be talked about that I wish they were talked about more for everyone. It would make life. I also find it just very funny in general, the whole thing of double protection, and that you can't say anything anyway, because it's just funny, because even if we were doubly protected, why would you want to say something? It's just a whole question, that whole statement of I can't say anything to you, more than likely, if that's how you feel, whatever you had to say, person that argued with Julia probably wasn't something you should have said in general, whether we are protected or not. So I find that kind of thing. what do I know?
Thank you so much for sharing those experiences. And I mean, yeah, I've just heard things like that way too much from different people. Like not just about women, but somebody actually told me once when they didn't get a job and somebody else got a job over them. They were like, "Oh, in this day and age, you have to be gay, black, and disabled to get a job." Like as if that was a privilege, like the best privilege in the whole world. So I thought it was like worth touching upon today.
That actually happened to me in college. They were talking about because again, it was a predominantly white institution. These girls were talking about how the Black kids got away with more things because they needed us and stuff like that. So I was, like I said, small things that like I would have never paid attention to because it wasn't just, you know, people saying they just hated me because I was Black. That like I looked at it and was like, this little small, you know, impressions. So.
Yep, those definitely happen a lot, as you've just heard. We actually had a couple of comments and questions from the audience, so I'll ask those before we go on with the anonymous questions and discussion points we had in advance. Somebody with the same name as Kiera is asking a question. Carrie's asking, what are your dream roles? So I guess in dance, there's also dream roles, probably mostly in ballet, I think. But for Reesie, if you're not like singer or musical theater performer, maybe you could touch on like what are your goals as an artist, like what projects you'd like to work on.
Well, I think one of my dream jobs is to eventually like direct or choreograph on Broadway. So I think I'm past the place as an artist where I want to be on stage now. You know, I still dance within my own shows, and I do like, you know, sometimes my friends have different projects they do ask me for that, you know, now I can kind of pick and choose of what I want to do. But on a directing level, I would love to direct and choreograph my own show on Broadway.
Well, my dream role currently is I want to be on Hamilton, which is funny because not naming names, but the person who asked this question would make fun of me for playing the Hamilton soundtrack all of the time. And now that it's on Disney Plus and she's watched it a couple of times, now she's obsessed with Hamilton. So it's kind of funny that she asked me this question. But yes, I absolutely adore the show. I actually auditioned for Hamilton in New York, which was a very fun experience. Obviously, I didn't get it because I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I had gotten it. But it was my first audition, like outside of, you know, doing stuff with my community theater and colleges and stuff like that. So that was a very fun experience. The people were very nice. I was nervous about that because it was actually in New York too. So I was expecting everybody to be like, oh, you know, we do this all the time. So they were going to be uppity, but everyone was friendly. Even the person that I auditioned with said I had a great voice. So, you know, he probably wouldn't have said that if he didn't mean it, I would think. So, but yes, anything in Hamilton is definitely a dream role. I would love to be Angelica Schuyler, but I feel like my voice is probably more Eliza, but it's fine. So yeah, I also like movies and stuff like that too. So if I did film, I would want to be a superhero of some sort. Being Storm would be super cool because I just love Storm. But yeah, so those would be my dream roles. And yes, I'm calling you out, Mother. So love you.
I guess for me, first of all, Storm, yes, I would love to be Storm too. I was Storm for Halloween a few years ago, and that was like my most popular costume ever. For me, my dream job would definitely be to be on Broadway. But for me, I probably would want to be Christine on the Phantom of the Opera. I mean, I'd have to work really hard to be able to do that. But it is one of those ones I remember I saw it originally when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And my mom bought me the soundtrack. I listened to that soundtrack every single day on repeat for probably like 6 months. It drove my brother and sister crazy with it. So that would just be, you know, it was the first musical I ever saw. And so it always has like a special place in my heart. And, you know, if I could get something like that, I would be proud of myself for the rest of my life, basically.
All right, thank you. I also would like to point out, Minova, that you should be proud of yourself for the rest of your life anyway. You don't have to be Christine on Broadway. You're great.
Okay, I take that back. I am proud of myself, but I mean, that would be a major achievement that I would be very happy about. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, Kiera, actually, I figured that was your mom asking the question. I just didn't want to make any assumptions. But I was like, somebody with the same last name, probably your mom. But
Yeah, let's say named after her, we look alike. Yep, so you can call her. She's okay.
there you go. All right. We actually have another question from Zernu, also with the same last name as
My father. My parents are all up in this right now.
Somebody's got a supportive family. Well, this question is specifically for Kiera, but I think Reesie and Minova, you can probably answer this one too, because once again, it's more musical theater related, but I'm sure you've all had experiences with this. So, of all the characters you've portrayed, which was the most difficult to perform and why? So this can apply to any dance things or like projects that you did. It doesn't have to necessarily be a performance project, but anything, maybe even in life that you did that that was most difficult to get done, pretty much.
So my top two for two different reasons would be Cinderella, and then a song that I had to do was the Queen of the Night aria. Queen of the Night aria, just in the name itself, if you all know that song, it's a very, very high pitched like song. It's an opera song in a different language. It's all first, it's like first soprano. That was very difficult. It was actually funny because I was taking voice lessons and my vocal instructor gave me hard songs all the time. You give other people like, Disney songs. I'm like, why can't I get like a Disney song? Like, I just want to have a relaxful time. He's like, because you can do it. And I'm like, okay, but just because I can do it doesn't mean I want to. So that's that. But for Cinderella was actually probably one of the hardest shows that I had to do for the sheer fact of my personality. I am loud, I am out there, I do crazy things. And Cinderella was quiet and meek. Like the first 10 lines was, yes, stepmother, of course, stepmother. Like it was just that. So it was very hard for me to go from being out there to playing somebody that's not out there, and because I felt like I wasn't doing anything, like just by being quiet and meek. So that was my hardest performance so far.
I would say it will actually be my last show I produced, which was Smells Like Freedom. That came out March of 2019. And I never dedicate my shows to anybody. I just kind of just have them. And this particular show I dedicated to one of my good friends who committed suicide the August before. And so a lot of my pieces are very much so about my life or experiences or journey. And I had a lot of like spoken word pieces that I've written that the actors performed that, really spoke to grief, which was one of my, biggest experiences with grief. And I think I was most nervous because I dedicated it to him and his life. And I just wanted to make sure that it was just impactful and powerful and perfect. And I invited his family, his daughter came, and I think that was it. Like, I remember in that show, I probably cried top to bottom. Like I would be backstage or come in the audience, and I perform at my own shows as well, crying and and having to pull it together because the emotion was still so very raw, and making sure I did it justice. I think I finally got to that point as an artist, which is so hard to get at, where you're like, I'm just going to give you what I have. And if it's enough, it's enough. If it isn't, it isn't. But this is who I am right now. And this is what I have. And I finally, I got to that point in my artistry. But in that particular show, I wanted to make sure what I was giving was enough for him and his memory. So that was probably one of the hardest things I had to get through.
So for me, I guess I will go with the life route instead of the the performer route. So for the past couple of years, I've been in school and I've been working and I've been trying to do artistic things at the same time, which has been really, really difficult. So I haven't really had a life. But I've just finished school. I graduated in April and I was able to do that with honors. Yay! So, I'm kind of starting a new chapter of my life right now, and I'm happy that that sort of difficult patch has gone. It's in the past now. So now I have a little bit more time to do more artistic things. So maybe I can work on, my Phantom of the Opera stuff now. Who knows?
All right, thank you. So those audience comments keep coming. Great, keep them coming, you guys. And I would love to invite everybody again, if you're able to donate to our charity, that would be highly appreciated. If you can't, that's okay. We're thankful for just the comments and the shares. But if you can, the donation link is under this video. Even small amounts are appreciated. Anything helps. So moving on with the comments and questions. Well, Mark is speaking French. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, Mark. Not everybody speaks French here, but he's saying hello. Mark was actually on our stream last week, this past Thursday. So thank you for tuning in, Mark, and supporting. Now let's see. We sure got a lot of comments for Kiera. You have an awesome family. Kiera's family, you guys are awesome.
Thank you. We're very extra, so we gotta represent.
Oh, and Will is watching. Will was also on our live stream on Thursday, and Will has got a question, which I will read right now. Will is saying, how do you feel being a performer of color in an industry dominated by shows that are traditionally made for or by white creators? What is your response to non-actors of color who are overcompensating? For example, white actors cannot be in Hamilton because it was written for people of color in mind. That's it. That's his comment. It's done. So whoever wants to go first, feel free to jump in. No.
Okay, I guess I can go first. I'm reading the comment because I gotta love Will. He says a lot of things. So for the first half of the question, how do you feel being a performer of color in an industry dominated by shows that are traditionally made for or by white creators? One of the songs that I sang actually in my senior recital in college was Random Black Girl. And if you guys don't know that song, you should listen to it. It is hilarious. And it's basically like, the song is basically, I am the black girl that's basically the token black girl, In the song, it talks about how her agent said that you'll never be cast as Eponine or Cassette. And, stuff like that, it does stick, wanting to be Christine and Phantom of the Opera and stuff like that. I feel grateful that now I feel like we're becoming more progressive and stuff like that. Like even with Anna and Elsa, doing Frozen on Broadway and stuff like that, seeing people of color, I feel like we're starting to move on to that stuff. So that is I'm grateful for that, as a performer. That gives me some hope that I can go audition for something and get it. I know there are some things that it's still difficult to do, when it comes to Disney specifically, working at Disney World. I will never get to be friends with anybody that's not a person of color, so that's unfortunate with stuff like that. So we're not completely there. I am fortunate that they are doing it. It's still a lot of hindrance because, even with, is it Chloe or is it Hallie? Chloe or Hallie, one of the sisters who is now Ariel, the Little Mermaid. And so grateful she's going to be a lovely Ariel, but it's hard because a lot of people are like, why can't Ariel stay, white or whatever? So we do have a long way to go when it comes to that stuff, but I do like that we are progressing towards being able to have more opportunities for us. And then when it comes to the Hamilton thing, to my knowledge, non-people of color can have those roles, but what people fail to realize when it comes to shows like that, like we don't have that many shows that are just for us, you know. There's plenty of shows like, you know, Phantom of the Opera or, you know, Oklahoma or all of these. There's plenty of shows for non-people of color to get into. So that, yes, you know, non-people of color can get into the shows that are made for, you know, people of color. That's fine. But it is nice for us to finally start having our own things and our own things to start to grow, because we don't have that. You know, we don't have that. It was like when Black Panther came out, like that was nice. Like little Black boys can go out and now they have the superhero that looks just like them and stuff like that. It's nice to have that representation, because when you turn on the TV, normally you really don't see that. So, yeah, I don't think, like I said, it's not that they can't be in it, but it is just nice for us to have our own thing too. And hopefully we can progress and progress so that way this doesn't even need to be a thing, that we can, hopefully in a perfect world, we would need to have those safe spaces, but it is important for us to have those to ourselves.
For me, I think, you know, he mentions like how people of color are sort of doing roles that were traditionally for white or Caucasian people, and how maybe these white people wouldn't be able to do a role that has been written specifically for a Black person to play. And I personally don't have a problem with that either way, unless the character is specifically supposed to be Black or white for some reason. You know what I mean? Like Ariel, I think it makes sense for Ariel to be Black, because Ariel comes from the Caribbean. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Like if you listen to a lot of the music in that movie, a lot of it is Caribbean music. Even Sebastian the Lobster, you know, he has a Caribbean accent. So it would make sense. It actually makes more sense for her to be Black than for her to be white. And I think maybe going forward, we will be revisiting a lot of the things that we've done before and recasting them with different races, not necessarily just Black or white, but I mean, there are lots of other races that are under, that are not being shown enough. You know, it's not just Black people. So I think that's sort of an exciting thing. Like I want to see people of color, not just Black, but people of color in general, in more roles. And I'm happy to, you know, I'm happy if a white person wants to play a traditionally Black role, unless it's specifically, like you wouldn't be able to have a white person playing the role of a slave or something like that. But if you get what I mean, if it makes sense, it should be fine. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I just find it funny because it's just like we finally get a show. Well, we have had more in the past, but I guess Hamilton's the most recent, obviously, that has become so popular with people of color. And now you have so many people who are not of color, like, well, this is unfair. And it's like, but then you don't want to admit that people of color have been struggling in the theater world and, you know, in the arts world for generations. You have one show and you're crying about it. So it's almost like, well, now you kind of see how people of color felt for like the history of pretty much theater, you know, where even white people were playing Black people in blackface. So just like Minova was saying, well, it doesn't really make sense culturally, inappropriately, like it's not appropriate for a white person to play a slave, but you have to then look at our history where white people were literally put on blackface to play Black characters. So they have done it. So when you're finally now getting shows where it's like, okay, we're going to create our own table because you're not giving us space at the table. Now there's a problem. And I kind of snicker at that, because I'm like, but then you're ignoring everything that people of color have been going through for generations in this arts world. You know, I think we're finally starting to see directors of color now saying, you know what, I see how hard it is for you as actors, singers, and dancers, because I've been there. And now instead of keep trying to find a seat at the table, let me build my own table and create award-winning, you know, shows where I can already give it to highly qualified people of color. And that's what we saw with Hamilton. And I feel like that's what you're going to continue to see in the future, which is Black people going into higher level of directors saying, you know what, I know that we can do this. I know that we have, great singers, great actresses, great actors. And now let me start building the table to create opportunities. And that's what you're seeing. And then I kind of feel like if people have a problem with it, oh, well, because we have been having a problem with it for decades. And you didn't, it wasn't really white directors creating this table for us and this space for us. So we had to create it ourselves. And that's what you're seeing. And honestly, for those that make it kind of uncomfortable, it's like, you better get used to it, because that's what this is now with this whole movement. This is what you're going to be seeing going forward. Us creating, people of color creating their own opportunities, creating their own shows, so we can, give our artists work.
I think my favorite thing that you just said is, you better get used to it. Like, I need that on a shirt. Like, you better get used to it.
All right, we lost Minova there for a second, but she'll be back. Meanwhile, I have a comment to read that I missed beforehand. I'm just looking at the comments from like 3 different devices here, because for some reason it's not all showing up on one device. So if, for those who are watching, if you asked a question and we didn't answer it yet, make sure you just copy paste that one again, just in case we missed it somehow. So coming from Kiera's family again, but the comment is directed at Reesie this time, though. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. So that was, thank you for that comment of support. Much appreciated. And also, another comment I'd like to make is that we have already raised $120 for our charity tonight. Yay. Thank you to everyone who donated. We really, really appreciate it. If anybody else would like to donate, the donation link is right under the video. Meanwhile, we will move on to the next question. This time asked by Dan. How is it to be a woman who's also a person of color in the arts? Challenges, obstacles, or good things? So I think we covered that already a little bit, but maybe like other examples you can give, anything else you want to add to that. Okay, so let me elaborate on that then in that case, because we actually have a couple of similar questions related to that. There's been, well, this one's specifically dance related, about Black ballerinas. There's like a whole thing about ballet and Black girls in ballet. So I think Reesie, probably you'd be the one who would be able to talk the most about it. But for Minova and Kiera, if there's anything else you want to add, even for like musical theater or anything at all, feel free. If not, that's okay. You don't have to comment on every single question. It's fine. Reesie's like, me?
No, I saw, what was the question? Is
oh, the question, if you can,
about Black ballerinas?
Yeah, just like Black women in dance, and how, like, if you ever did ballet, how was it easy? Was it hard? Was your experience? Or if you know any people who wanted to be ballerinas and are also people of color?
I think ballet is one of those challenging genres. Well, for me, but I also think it, is based off your instructor, because sometimes you have, talking as a person of color, you have an instructor that understands the Black aesthetic. Then they teach it in a way that fits your body. They're not going to say like, keep your tailbone down. Well, my Black aesthetic calls, I have wider hips, I have a bottom. So I'm built a little bit differently, than what the genre sometimes calls for. That doesn't mean that I cannot produce what you need. Doesn't mean that I cannot do it. I think it speaks to what we kind of talked about before, which is opportunity and understanding. I know one of the things that I have been seeing circulating a lot was, saying that ballet is the fundamentals of dance. And I've seen a lot of Black instructors and people of color, argue that, saying that no, there was other genres that preceded, ballet, and to think that that is the only fundamental, just really kind of speaks to some of the systemic racism, that how we can see how it crosses over even in the arts and not just in, society or, economically, like that. So, obviously I'm more on giving people the opportunity. And like I said, the more challenges I really seen was more so with instruction, because you do have a lot of instructors who feel like already because of your body type, you can't do it. Obviously we have seen many people prove them wrong, most recently who made, a lot of, a stir in the arts world is Misty Copeland, but there's been Black ballerinas that preceded her. So I just feel like as long as you give people opportunity, let them show you what they can do, opposed to walking in the door and saying, nope, you don't have the right body type, you don't have the right fit. And I think that's really what it comes down to, opportunity, and like we just said, like sometimes when that opportunity is not presented, you create the opportunities for people of color so they do not have to go through, some of the challenges that we went through.
And so I go off of like what you just said with like the aesthetic and stuff like that. Like other challenges are, I'm not that great at doing my own hair and makeup, but typically like if I go someplace else, they're not going to know how to put makeup on me, how to do my hair. And like, especially like as a Black woman, you don't just want anybody just in your hair doing anything crazy. So that has definitely been challenges, getting makeup done by like non people of color. Like sometimes I'm a little crazy. So that is definitely a big challenge. I would love to see a lot more Black and other people of color hairstylists and makeup artists and stuff like that on set and stuff like that. And not just, or even if it's a white person who is experienced with doing it. So like when I was Erica in the Stranger Things house, I was fortunate that the woman who did my hair had a lot of experience with Black hair. So I felt comfortable with her doing my hair and fixing it for me. I adore her. She's great, but that's not always the case when it comes to being a Black artist, whether, it's music, theater, dance, and stuff like that. So that is a very important thing that I would like, more representation for makeup and hair too.
All right, thank you for the additional examples. I've been trying to combine a few different questions and comments we got together because a lot of these are very similar. So this one is came as an anonymous question. So I'll just read this one. I think for people who ask similar questions, this would probably cover what you were asking too. So this person is saying, I feel like you guys talk about racism and sexism, but all this is just talk. I want actual examples of you experiencing racism and sexism. I have a Black friend who's also a woman, and she says she never experienced racism or sexism. We've been over this today a little bit, so I guess this person wants more examples.
And that, what, it's kind of funny because even speaking to like what Minova and Kiera were saying, racism is so layered. And I think when we hear the word racism, we think if you are not in a KKK outfit and screaming the N-word and overtly saying racist things, that you're not racist. Well, when we see different things like the quote unquote Karens in Central Park stopping someone for bird rock, that's the levels of racism that we're seeing. When we're seeing systemic racism, like just as simple as a Band-Aid, like Kiera was saying, that color doesn't match my color, but you put that as the primary color. When we talk about when we're playing chess, what piece goes first? White. So it's just like, it's built in so many ways that you didn't even say, like, I never experienced it, but when you really break it down and you see even how socioeconomically things are distributed, like even schools are funded based off of property taxes. Well, you live in a underserved community, then whether that's, those property taxes look a lot different than where I grew up, which is Munster, Indiana. So the school I went to, which, was predominantly white, and I was one of 3 Black people who graduated. You know, I didn't have my first Black teacher until I was in college. And I think a sophomore, junior at that. Look totally different than the schools that I currently serve in Inglewood and Park Manor communities. So, you know, it's like first of all, as a Black woman, it is not my responsibility to teach you about race. You are an adult. You can Google, you can read, you can do whatever you need to do. You can help self-educate, but it is not my responsibility. That is your moral responsibility to learn it yourself. And I had my friend and colleague, Aiega from Deeply Rooted, say that. He was like, why are you trying to teach somebody? You, as a Black woman, you already know what it is. You can call it out, you can spell it out, you know how it feels, you know how it makes you feel. It is their moral responsibility to sit here and learn that for themselves. So it's not like you want me to experience it, then you want me to tolerate it, now you want me to teach it. No, I'm good. You go learn that for yourself. And if you fail to sit here and take on that responsibility, it's because you are racist and you don't want to change the systems because the systems serve you. But that's not my responsibility. Just like when I went to college, when I wanted to become a teacher and an educator, guess what? I didn't go out and say, Julia, teach me. No, I went, got financial aid, worked 3 jobs, went to school, and I learned for myself. I read books. I did research, and I got 2 degrees, period. So it's like, if you want to sit here and learn about it, go learn. But don't sit here and think I'm supposed to experience it. I'm supposed to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. And then with the little emotional strength I have left, then sit here and teach you an adult being about it? Absolutely not.
And not only we got to teach it, but we got to do it and not be angry. Because then if we, talk about how we're upset, now we're the angry Black woman. So we got to experience it. We got to tolerate it. We got to teach it, but don't teach it too aggressive because now we're just angry. Like it's just all of this. Like
I was just to say, and you dare not articulate it, because even if you come off, if you're articulate, then it's like you're angry. I'm like, no, I'm not angry. I'm just not going to do it. I don't have to do everything you ask me to do, and that's one of them. I'm not about to teach you.
So I basically just want to say that just because your friend hasn't experienced racism doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I've never experienced overt racism. No one has ever called me names. No one has ever been mean to me personally, like in an outright sort of way. But how can you deny racism? You know what I mean? It's happening every single day to millions of people, not just millions, probably billions of people, because racism is not just against Black people. So, I'm glad that whoever asked that question is here and they're watching this and they're trying to learn, they're trying to understand, and they are confused because of the experiences that their friend has had. But again, as Reesie mentioned, if you want to learn more about it, you have to look into it. And just going by what one of your friends happens to say does not speak for everybody. So I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're asking questions. But I would recommend, trying to read a little bit more about it, so that you can understand how, like, all these little tiny things that people of color go through every day, that is not overt racism. And then maybe you'll be able to understand a little bit better.
And I would say, and just to piggyback off that, we as Black women, we still have to learn about it. Certain things that, even as an adult woman, I'm still learning. I have to learn about my own culture and history because, if I go back, then my ancestors were slaves, but that's not where my history started. So it's like, if I have to do the work and I'm Black and I'm experiencing it, of course you still have to do the work. We all are responsible for this thing in different levels. So even with me saying, no, go read a book, I'm saying, yeah, go read a book because I'm also reading books about my culture and my experiences and that of my people, which I can better serve them. Because if I, like I said, I was raised in predominantly affluent white areas. The people I serve, even though they look like me, their socioeconomic standing is totally different than how I was raised. So in order to even connect to my own people, I have to sit here and educate myself. So if I have to do that as a Black woman, of course you have to do it as a person of non-color. If you're trying to understand my experience, and to be completely frank, you will never understand my experience. So even if I talk to you and I turn blue, you will never know how it feels to be a Black woman. Just as I will never know how it feels to be a Black man. And it's just that simple. So we can learn to grow. But if you're trying to feel like me, then you are not going to be able to do that, because every day I wake up, I don't have a choice the color of my skin. The child I bear, even if I sit here and my husband is white, my child's still going to be Black. That's what society's going to see, like my son or daughter, unfortunately, or fortunately for me. I think that's fortunate. But but you get what I'm saying? So it's like, we all have a moral responsibility to do the work and to educate, so we can make this a better society, and and make it a better future for the generations to come.
And I just wanted to also mention one thing, because I am mixed race. So my mother is Black, she's from Trinidad, and my dad is white, he's British and Scandinavian. So I haven't just felt like someone was being prejudiced against me just from white people. I've felt it from Black people as well, because I'm in between, sort of. So again, when I first moved into the big city, the first sort of inklings of racism, never really overt, like I said, I've never had overt, but the first real feelings of that I was different and not necessarily liked was from Black people. It wasn't from white people first. And I think that that's something that doesn't really get spoken about ever, like literally never. I've never heard anyone talk about it before. But so my hair, it's a huge, crazy curly mess right now, but usually I blow dry my hair straight. And when it's straight, it comes down to about my waist. And it sounds ridiculous, but people would be racist against me because my hair was nice. So it's like, it's not, I think racism is sort of a global thing. I don't really think it's white people can only be racist to Black people. I think Black people are racist to Black people. Black people are racist to white people. And I think that we all sort of need to accept and love each other. Like, even if, like, I can understand, I do know a lot more of white history because that's what we're taught in school. But I think as long as we try to learn as much as we can about each other, and we try to accept and love each other, I think that's all that really matters. Because for me, like, I don't have a choice, I'm both. So I love both. I just love both, And I sort of wish that everyone could sort of see it through my eyes, that like, there are so many wonderful things about all of us. And I don't think color matters at all in the long run, so.
And I would say, like, what kind of Minova is speaking about is colorism. So, but colorism is a byproduct of systemic racism. Of when, we go all the way back to our history in Black history here in America, within slavery, where they would separate us based off our color and about our hair texture. And so now, generations and generations past, now you're seeing colorism where someone who is more fair skinned or have a different texture of hair, even though it's textured, is a different texture. Mine might be a little bit more coily than hers. Then you're starting to see that, but that's a byproduct of slavery. So, which is then what they would do is pin us against each other as Black people and people of color, I should say. So I think that's what I mean by we really need to do the work in understanding our history, so we can really, in order to sit here and go forward and say we're going to live in a place of unity, I want that. I think we all want that, right? But in order to get that, we must acknowledge where we are and how we got there. So then when we finally get to a better place, we don't return to the place we have already been. And in order to do that, then yes, we have to pick up the books. We have to learn our history. We have to learn both sides. I was like, colorism, yes, that's something we see definitely here in America, and especially within our community, Black community, Hispanic community as well. But if you go to India, they have caste systems and colorism there. But where did it come from? When Europeans came into these areas and they said dark is bad, lighter is good, but it was from that, so like we have to understand where it's stemming from, and then understand our history and our culture, so we don't return back to that.
All right, thank you. If nobody else has anything else to add, we can move on to the next question because we keep getting quite a few of them. Carrie's asking, well, I should just say Kiera's mom. She's family now. Kiera's family is our family. But Carrie's asking, since Kiera does come from a very supportive family, what are your thoughts about the level of support in general that there seems to be for people in the arts? People don't always attend the shows or donate, for example, like they would do for something like sports. What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't know because it looked like other people were like reaching. It definitely is hard. Like even in college, it was hard. We literally would offer it as extra credit for people to come see our shows, and sometimes people wouldn't. It does stink. I know when I was Belle and Beauty and the Beast, I asked a lot of people to come see me, and you've worked in shows, and the tickets to see our shows aren't very expensive. So it does hurt, like inviting people to come see things that it's very important to you, but because it's not necessarily important to them, or it's like not like the mainstream, like with sports and stuff like that, they don't take the time. Like, because I'm not a sports person, honestly. Like my family, we never grew up watching basketball, baseball, any of that stuff. But if I had a friend or a significant other, anybody who that was important to, like I would still go do it. But I've experienced lots of potential significant others who I would bring up like this is something I would do, and they're like, oh, I'm not interested in like theater, like I'm not gonna go do it. So it does stink, and I am grateful for my family coming from a very not even just supportive, like, but like they are supportive of the arts, that has helped a lot because some of my friends, who I do shows with can't get their family to come, but they can get their family to come to like a sports, event easy, easy, no matter how much it costs. Like that could be the sports thing, it costs way, way more, 10 times more than the theater show, but they will go to that sports event over going to, their own like son or their own daughter's theater thing. So that, even though I've never experienced it, I've seen how it hurts my friends. And I've experienced it from friends and stuff like that. Like, fortunately, like I said, I have my family and stuff like that. Not even my extended family, like, my cousins, my uncles and aunts, my grandparents have come to see my shows. So I'm very fortunate to have that. But I have seen my friends not be as fortunate, and it does hurt. And it makes it hard because like when it comes to like Broadway and stuff like that, like not as people don't go to it as much, anymore, stuff like that. So it does think since this is something that I want to do, it is hard knowing that the support like everywhere isn't as strong as if I was, a sports person or whatever. So it's difficult. It's sad. I'm grateful. I love y'all. Thanks, family. All my family's in the chat right now. Y'all rock.
I was definitely blessed to have a supportive family. I think my family was more supportive on the back end than the front end. Like, because dancing when I was younger on dance teams, I still laugh because I'm like, my family came to one pom competition and they left early. So, like all the years. I've been I was on dance teams since 8th grade, right? So I laugh about it now, but then later on in life, when I started my business, they were the first ones because I, essentially quit my career. So I was a full-time teacher, and I quit my career to follow my dreams as a professional artist. If I did not have the support of my family, I would not have been able to do that financially. I stayed, I didn't have any money saved. I stayed home with my mom, so having to pay rent and different things like that. So I was blessed to have a supportive family. A lot of artists do not have that, and which is why I think we hear that whole starving artist type, quote, or branding, I should say. So, but I was blessed to have like a mom, sister who really supported me. And I think, because I have that, I make sure I pass that torch down to like my youth students, and really try to teach their parents, because a lot of their parents are not artists. So it's a foreign world. They think of it as a hobby. We think of it as a livelihood. because it is, you know. So, bringing them, I have like parent meetings with my parents just so they can be more involved and really see how this can be a livelihood and not just a hobby for your child. And so they can begin to invest in the arts a lot more. I mean, when you look at society, we see that, the arts are the first thing that cuts funding in the schools, unfortunately. Although when we see like statistically, it rate, people who like children who are involved in the arts, they have higher test scores, mathematics and reading and all of that. So it actually helps their academics, even though it's like the first to be cut. So, I think although I had a supportive family in the back end, it's just like, I just try to make a better choice to support other young artists who may not been as blessed to have that family support. So then they don't feel like they have to choose and pick what sometimes we call real jobs or a real career, and help them understand that yes, you can follow your passion and still have a great living.
So for me, I did not have a very supportive family. It's not that my mom didn't want to come to my shows or the things that I've done in the past. She just didn't really have time. So my parents got divorced when I was like 5 or something like that. And I have a sister and a brother, and my dad was not to be relied on. So my mom was just working all the time. So she didn't have any free time to come to my shows. She just really didn't. And my dad, he was sort of absentee, so I don't even think now he knows I know how to sing. So basically everything that I've done, I've had to do by myself. And that goes for like school, everything. So like most of my life since I was about 16, I've been on my own. And so I had to do the plan B first, because I had no one to take care of me, and I had to make sure I had something to fall back on before I could pursue anything artistic. And so I'm still sort of struggling with that. I mean, I'm an adult now, but it is nice to have, help and support with what it is that you love to do. And now, my mom has retired a few years ago, but unfortunately, just a couple years after she retired, and she would have had time, she passed away. So she never really got to see me really do anything. And the funny thing is, like, when my mom named me, she named me Minova because she didn't want me to have a last name. She wanted me to be a famous singer, and I was supposed to be like Madonna or Cher or something like that, like just the one name, like famous superstar. And maybe I'm a late bloomer, and maybe I will end up being that one name superstar someday. But yeah, I basically had to do all of it by myself.
But I think that like very much so speaks to your tenacity and dedication, Minova. And I would say, like, because I've been in those situations too, like earlier on, I think it's imperative. I'm so happy, glad that you were very honest in that telling, because I think a lot of artists have that same experience as you. Sometimes we're afraid to say those experiences. But I think that it's imperative when you do have that experience to have a good support system, whether that's friends, it might not be family, but we have friends, sometimes close friends are just as much as family, or colleagues, like what we're doing now, getting to know each other and staying, I would love to keep connected with you guys on social media and different things like that, so we can like share each other's projects and, just how we are doing, because sometimes as an artist, it does get lonely and does get hard. And I think it's so imperative for us to do things like this, where we come together to talk and we share, and we create that family sometimes that we're lacking, and that support that we're sometimes lacking in different areas, because even though we have family support, artists understand artists. So, sometimes like my non-artist family, they don't get, when I'm breaking down crying, like, but like I can share that with you. Like when you're just sharing that, I was like, oh yeah, I get it, girl. Like I'm there with it. I totally understand. So, I think, of course, us staying connected, but just making sure that we create those communities within the art, our community, to make sure that we are supportive of one another.
Very good points. Thank you so much, ladies. And actually, to add to one of the questions we just talked about, there's a comment by Zernal that says, nobody questions the validity of shark attacks on people, and I'm sure the great majority of us don't know a single person who has ever been bitten by one, but somehow we don't question if it's real, if it's a real phenomenon or not. So I guess that goes for racism. Like for those people, oh, I have the one black friend who says he or she doesn't experience racism, or I have lots of female friends and they never experience sexism, so it doesn't exist. So good point. Thank you. And Tito is saying,
Father likes to be extra, so
oh,
so he's always extra saying all these deep things, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, the comment was from Kiera's family. So thank you for that. And Tito is saying they should research microaggressions and how that plays into the broader scope of racism. So I think that goes for a couple of questions ago. I think someone asked for examples of racism and sexism. So I think that's for that comment.
Fun fact, that's also family too. So my family's just all up comments. And
Oh, there you
like
go.
I said, we all comments on stuff.
I can add a little bit to that when it comes to the sexism part. So while I was in school just recently, I was working for a very high-end restaurant doing all of the hiring for the hostess team and the waiters and such. And I've been doing it for a very long time, and I was able to sort of lower the turnover rate. So the people that I was hiring were staying in their jobs longer than the people who had been hired by the managers before. So the general manager of the restaurant quit, and we got a new one. And the new guy that came in was a complete misogynist. Like he took one look at me and he was like, there's no way you could do this job. I'm going to be taking over this, and this from you. I'm going to be doing all the interviews from now on. I'm going to be doing all this. I want to see every single person. Like he totally took over everything from me, specifically because, well, probably for those three reasons. So I'm young, I'm a woman, and I'm a person of color. So probably for those three reasons, he doubted my abilities, even though they were proven, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So that is something that women do have to deal with. And sort of like proving yourself over and over and over. Every time you get a new job, every time there's a new manager, every time you meet someone new in the professional world, you're always trying to sort of prove to people that you're as good as you say you are, or as good as you are on paper, because a lot of times they just don't believe you. And it's pretty unfortunate.
All right, thanks for those examples. I'm just checking for comments. I see Kristen is watching too. Hi, Kristen. Kristen also, just like Reesie and me, is from the Joel Hall Dancers and Center family. So they're super supportive. If anybody watching ever wants to take any dance classes, highly recommend Joel Hall Dancers and Center. Super supportive, super welcoming, amazing place. All right, on to the next question. Once again, these questions overlap quite a bit sometimes, so I'll try to combine a couple together for this one. Somebody who's watching now sent an anonymous question saying, well, I guess this one is directed at Minova, but I'll combine it with another one so all of you guys can answer it. So after Minova was done answering one of the questions previously, this person is saying, oh, I don't see what Minova's problem is. Her dad is white, her mom is black, and she's beautiful, so I don't understand how that's a problem. It's bullshit about the racism. So I'm just reading the way it's written. So should have probably corrected that a little bit. But to add to that, there's also a thing, I guess, I'm not sure if that's like a compliment because you're beautiful and mixed race.
I'm gonna take the high road and assume that that is a compliment. So thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I have a horrible life and that people are mean to me every day. I don't have a hard life. I have struggled and I have, had a lot of things that I've had to deal with. But I'm not blaming that on anybody else, and I'm not blaming that any of my struggles, on racism or anything like that. I think even just the beautiful comment, I think sometimes people think that if you're, good looking, your life is easy. And that is definitely not true. If that were true, I'd be the Queen of Monaco or something like that. But it's kind of unfortunate that he thinks it's bullshit, because I'm maybe because I'm calm about it. I don't know. Maybe I should be more angry. I don't really know what this person is expecting, or, I'm assuming that this is probably a white male that doesn't have to deal with all the little tiny things. As I said, I haven't had anything truly overt. But when you do realize all the little tiny things in your life that are geared towards or away from your color, you sort of realize it over time, even if you haven't been a victim of that, face-to-face sort of racism. And it's something that you realize as you go through life. And if that isn't something that you realize, then you're probably one of the lucky people that, fits into that box that never really sees anything like that. For example, I recently read a book, an Ernest Hemingway book, called The Sun Also Rises. So there is 2 pages of that book where he uses the N-word at least 18 times. He uses the N-word 18 times. And he's using it not in, a white person wouldn't think he was using it in a racist way, because he was talking about this person with love and saying how much he really liked this person. But for me, I just felt like using that word was really unnecessary. And when I spoke to some of my friends about it, they were like, what? I don't remember that being in the book, because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect their feelings. It doesn't have anything to do with them. So they don't even notice it. And I think that's one of the things that happens with racism. Because it doesn't affect you, you don't notice it. And I'm glad that you're here and you're watching this, and I'm hoping that maybe you'll be able to sort of pick up on some of those little things that we notice that you may have not noticed in the past.
All right, well, I'm assuming nobody else has anything to add for this specific comment, but I will add another one that kind of relates to this, and people just seem to want like a lot of examples. So this one is actually, since Minova, you mentioned you are from Canada, and I mean, I knew this, but people who were watching didn't. Can we maybe compare the experiences of being women and or women of color in Canada versus the US? Because the part where some people said that racism is not a thing in Canada, but is in the US, has come up a bunch of times before. So I'm guessing this is kind of like just asking for more examples. So I don't know what else people want. So maybe just speak on the differences, or like even if you haven't experienced it, if somebody you know experienced it.
So as I said, up until I was about 19, I didn't think racism existed at all. First of all, obviously we all know that racism has always existed. And maybe it's seen as being a little bit worse in the US than it is in Canada, but it was never really talked about. So I just did not think it existed. And again, just because you think something doesn't exist, or because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The thing is, the racism in Canada does exist. It's just a sort of different type of racism. So people, when they're racist here, they like to do it behind your back. They're not going to call you names. They're not going to, physically threaten you. They're not going to do anything like that. They do things behind your back, sort of. So they may hate you and they may be prejudiced against you, but to your face, they'll treat you just like they treat everybody else. And I think that's why people think racism doesn't exist here. And I haven't experienced any, but I've seen plenty of examples of racism in Canada. I just happen to be one of the lucky ones, so I can't speak to it personally, but I've seen it. Like, I mean, we all know how to Google, right? Just Google racist Canadian rant and probably 500 videos will come up for you to watch. You know, it happens here. Canada is not perfect. And a lot of the people that live, I mean, we like to point fingers and we like to blame the United States for, you know, these types of problems. But we're our own country. We, just like the United States, we should know better. And just because we're not as vocal about our racism doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, unfortunately.
You know, I just kind of feel like with a lot of these people asking, it's almost like you want to, when something's wrong, it's just wrong. So it's not like a level of wrong. Can we stop trying to level it up like, well, this type of racism is accepted and this one's really not. No. Wrong is wrong. Racism is racism. You know, and you can see it all over the world. Now, where that person's probably experiencing, saying it's more like it's happening here more in America, that's probably because you live in America. So this is where you see it. I'm sure if you lived in Canada, that's where you would see it and experience it. If you lived in, you know, England, that's where you would see it and experience it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You're just seeing more of it because the television you watch is based here. You know, the media is based here. Radio stations are based here. So that's what you're seeing. But there is no, we need to stop this whole leveling of stuff. No, wrong is wrong. Racism is racism and racism is wrong. And just as many times as you see these questions coming up, imagine as many times as this has come up in our lives. So that's why when you hear Black people say like, we're exhausted, we're tired, it's because like, why do I have to keep explaining this? At no point do I ever go to my white friends and say, how does it feel to be white? What does privilege feel like? Can I touch your hair? Oh my goodness, look at your body. Like, no, I never do that. Like, I never think to do that because it's inappropriate. And so, like, things that we're saying is like, why do I have to explain that it's not okay to touch my hair? Why do I have to explain it's not okay to call me out my name? Why? Like, it's just like, you know, it's like, it's sometimes where I'm like, you're not a baby. And if I have to explain it, just because you don't really want to understand, because I can talk to my 2-year-old nephew and say, if I don't give you this piece of candy because your hair is brown, but I give it to your friend because his hair is blonde, do you think that that's okay? He'll say, of course. He'll say, no, it's not fair. So if a baby can understand it, then surely an adult human being can. And I think it is so simple. It's funny because I was like, racism is so level, but it's so simplistic that I'm like, you can understand it on the simplest level, it's just right or wrong, like a toddler can, or you can go deeper and see how systemic racism, where it's like a little bit harder to uncover. But at the end of the day, they're both wrong. So the guy with the KKK hood who's calling me the N-word is just as wrong as a quote unquote Karen who's calling the police on a Black family outside at the park. One is not more right, but one is not more wrong. They're both wrong. And I think until we understand that concept, then we can stop this back and forth. But it's not a tennis match. It's not I think people see this as a competition. Like we're trying to compete. And I'm like, we're not competing. We're just trying to live. You know, so I think a lot of other races, people who are not of color, is like you're almost trying to compete with us. Like, my experience is bad too. Or I'm not saying that you can't have a bad experience because you're not Black. I'm just saying you're not having that experience because you are Black. You're having it because maybe you didn't have resources and you were poor. You didn't have it but you didn't have it because of the colors of your skin. So, yeah, I think, you know, after a while, it's like it is. It's like if you don't want to get this, it's like at this point, you just don't want to get it. Just like Minova said, you can Google like videos right now. Like that's the beautiful thing about technology. We can all get everything at our fingertips. You do not have to keep asking 3 Black women or 3 women of color the same darn question. And that's all I got to say about it.
All right. Well, this person is apparently watching still and asking more questions. Okay, I'm just going to read this one because I feel like you ladies have answered these questions over and over again. But here is what this anonymous person says. I want specific examples, question mark. Like, have you been put in handcuffs or assaulted just because you're Black or just because you're a woman? You look like you actually are hard workers and aren't lazy like thugs we see on these videos online. I feel like the ones who, in quotation marks, experience racism actually deserve it because they are thugs, like those looters that are destroying America.
First of all, I think that the way that you dress should not be a reason for you to be arrested, no matter what your color is. If you want to wear a hoodie and walk to go to this corner store and buy Skittles at midnight, you shouldn't be arrested or shot for that. Like, the way you dress or looking like a thug should not be a reason for you to be arrested. I know plenty of people who actually have PhDs and are very intelligent, wonderful people who, when they're not wearing a suit, when they're teaching at a university, they want to wear comfortable clothes too. So yeah, maybe if they're just going to the store, they're going to wear jogging pants. But that doesn't mean because of what they're wearing that they're a bad person or that they deserve to be mistreated just because they're wearing that clothes and they happen to be Black. That's racism right there.
Part of me doesn't even want to answer this person's question because it doesn't, you know how like when people are asking questions because they want to learn versus they asking questions because they're trying to start stuff, and how it's being worded with the thugs and the looters. Like, at this point, if you want to learn, again, like, there's Google. If you're trying to start, so this is not what this platform, what we're doing here, is for. There's so many resources you can look for. Yes, maybe we haven't experienced police brutality or, the outward, getting called the N-word. Yes, maybe none of us have. Hopefully neither of us. I haven't had experiences. Hopefully neither of the other ladies have to experience it. But just because we specifically have experienced it, our hardworking selves haven't gotten to experience it, doesn't mean it isn't a thing. You can literally Google it. That is why all of these protests are happening, because there are people who are experiencing this who aren't thugs. Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed. I just don't understand what people don't get. Breonna Taylor, she wasn't the whole, they weren't even supposed to be at her house. She was in her bed. So I don't understand what more examples, what you could want, why you're specifically wanting us to give complete examples, and why if we don't have examples of insane stories means that this isn't a thing, because it is a thing. It's just really funny. You can always tell when somebody actually wants to learn versus when somebody is just saying things because it's not gonna. If you want to learn, if you really want to learn, you will Facebook it, you will Google it, you will have conversations with friends. I don't feel like this platform is for you right now if you really actually want to learn. So whoever this is, I appreciate you watching us. I hope you enjoyed the fun videos and watching this thing. Hopefully we'll get Minova's video out too. But at this point, when it comes to the whole thugs and the lootings, it's starting to turn into something that it shouldn't be. So if you want to learn for real, Google it. There's plenty of things that you can look up. Just understand the meat of why there are looters. I don't want there to be looters. If in the perfect world that wouldn't be happening, but look up. And it's also just so funny to me that we are, so mad at the looters when all the things in museums were stolen too. Are we going to return all the things that were from museums? We were based off of violence and destruction. We came and we took this land from people who are already here. but now it's kind of like one of those concepts that like all this is happening is just insane and crazy. And again, like I'm not saying I'm like, yeah, let's go like burn everything down, but like understand why it's happening and understand that this is not like it's never happened before. This world, this United States was built off of us, off of white people coming and pillaging and taking land from other people. So it's not like this is a foreign concept. And I'm pretty sure somebody in the Constitution, and like I remember something, I don't even know the exact like, wording of it, that it was like we have the ability to fight when it comes to like when we feel like we're being oppressed by the people who are supposed to be leading us. And we wouldn't feel the need to fight if all the peaceful protests that we have tried to have worked. Colin kneeled and that was wrong. It's also funny because people say, well, don't loot, but then we do peaceful protest. Like, but don't peaceful protest this way. Like we keep doing all of these things, but it's like nothing we do is good enough for certain people, not for everybody. So it's just whoever you are, like, thank you for watching, whatever, donate, a couple dollars to our little thing down below, but I don't think this is for you, honey.
I think this is just a prime example of what we do experience. So I love that like ignorance is showing itself, because then when people are like, give me an example. Well, this is an example. You have 3 highly educated, highly talented women on this panel, and those are the things you choose to ask. If that's not showing you sexism and racism, then I don't know. This is a prime example. So if you want an example, this is an example. Out of everything that you can ask these talented human beings, that's what you choose to ask, and you need examples of racism and sexism? Like, no. And it's like, when it comes to a conversation, you're conversing. So you have to have a certain level of intellect in order to do so. And I'm very protective of my energy. And it's like, I'm not going to give energy to that, because my thing is, you're not trying to do anything you're not trying to be positive. You're trying to get emotion out of us. And I'm sorry, we're not going to fit the whole angry Black woman bid. So at this point, it's like, if you need examples, I think the fact that we're even asked these questions should be, what we're experiencing right now is racism, where you're like, prove it. I never asked my Jewish friends to prove the Holocaust. Ever. It's inhumane. It's a lack of empathy. So for you to continue to make me share my experience, something that's so heinous, that is so emotionally driven, and you want me to relive it through my words, to express it to someone who would never, ever understand it, it's inhumane, and you lack empathy. And on that level, then my thing is, why am I going to even waste my energy? I won't.
Well, thank you so much. I'm actually impressed at how calm you ladies were. I'd be just so pissed at this point. To our anonymous guest, hopefully you heard what the ladies have said. There's actually a lot of resources that we posted on some of our previous live streams. This one the theme of it was women and being a woman in today's society, but I guess we got into a lot of the stuff we discussed at our Black Lives Matter streams too. So if you're interested in learning more and asking more questions, feel free to go to our other events or message this page. I'll be happy to send you the links to a bunch of different resources, a bunch of documentaries. 13th is one of them that everybody recommends to watch if you're interested in really learning and not just, keep saying the same thing over and over again and try to prove that you're right.
And I am definitely grateful for, like, if you really actually are interested in learning, like people who want to ask questions and they are afraid to ask the questions, please keep asking us questions. Like, I'm one of those people that, like, I'm okay with my friends asking me questions that they might be like, I don't want this to be ignorant. Like, like, I'm okay with people. But like I was saying earlier, there's a difference of people asking questions because they genuinely want to learn versus asking questions because they just want to argue. So if you just want to argue, this isn't the platform, because we are not going to fulfill your angry Black woman stereotypes. We are here to have fun. But if you want to genuinely learn some things and have, opinions, feel free to ask us questions because we are totally fine with answering legit questions that people that actually want to learn and not want to study.
All right, so we had quite a few comments. I'm looking at all the comments, and I think the audience agrees with us that it's time to move on to maybe something nicer than having to discuss the same things over and over again. Tito is actually saying spot on. You don't have to justify or rationalize the Black experience to others because they don't want to understand it. And then actually there's, so if our anonymous friend is watching right now, there's a link somebody posted in the comments. Yay, Kiera's family, for you to watch. And of course, like I said, we can share all the resources and links we've shared for our Black Lives Matter streams if you are genuinely interested in learning more. Now, let's see. I'm just going to go through comments and make sure we haven't missed anything. We have one comment saying, let's see, Tito's saying it's social conditioning. We are conditioned to think certain things are bad or negative just by how it looks, and people don't take the time to think for themselves. Yes, just based on what comments and questions we've gotten on these streams, that's definitely true. Now, I think people are asking for us to move on to the next question. And next one is actually also anonymous, but a way nicer one. So this person is saying, I can't believe these beautiful women are being targeted like that. I'm more interested in finding out how they think that female artists affect the arts and how maybe they themselves made a difference in somebody's lives. I just want to say that female artists are the best and they bring beauty to this world. So any examples you, I mean, feel free to just like praise yourself and be like, because I'm a woman, here's what I made. Or if you want to praise other women, you can. This is your time.
First of all, I want to say thanks. That was very sweet. It's nice to have, change this up a little bit. I don't know, women are always, we're very supportive of each other. We, especially in the arts. I mean, it's not like that in every industry, but in the arts, I think, we all sort of love each other and we want to see each other succeed. And we all have these female sort of role models that we're sort of following in the steps of. We're trying to, make our own way as well. I personally am really happy to be a woman. I'm really happy that I have, this cute girly voice. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And I hope that my colleagues here kind of feel the same thing and have had positive female experiences sort of as a performer. I don't know if I got sort of off topic there.
I feel like female artists were the influencers of this beautiful arts world. We paved the way. We bring a sense of course, intellect, compassion. We're naturally nurturers already, so we can exude levels of empathy for others that are seen through our arts in a way that I feel like is absolutely beautiful, that transcends from singing or acting or dance. So I think that and we have a level of strength that's kind of, it's not always overt, but it's just beautifully intertwined with who we are, who we naturally are. So I love seeing women artists. I love to promote women artists. My adult professional company is all women dancers of color, and I purposely did that because I felt like they bring us a sense of strength that is just beautiful to watch. We are obviously the birthers naturally. And I also think spiritually that we see within the arts too, where we birth different things and different ideas and different ways to see and experience art. So I agree with that person. I'm very proud to even like sit on a panel with other women artists, because I think it just shows the beauty that we have. Like, you know, like, oh, I can't believe they stay so cool. Well, that's who we are as women, honey. We stay cool in the hot temperatures. But you're seeing it now, you know, and still be able to show a level of intellect and compassion and not have to get angry, but still be able to stand in firmly of who we are and our truths. You know, you can still be able to do that as well, you know. So yeah, I definitely agree with that person. And I do. I think, you know, the arts world, we're needed, obviously. And you know, I would love to see more women in these bigger, you know, roles as directors and different things like that, leading the paths even more, to really pave the way into that next generation.
All right. So for those watching, first I would like to point out that so far we have raised $145 for our charity. Yay, thank you everybody who donated. You'll still be able to donate even after this video is done. The video will be available on Facebook after this, so you'll be able to share, donate if you'd like to donate more. You'll be able to comment, but obviously the artists won't be able to respond to your comments live. If you would like to contact any artists or have any questions, you can, I believe there's, for on our page for this event, we've posted everybody's bios. So for some artists, the contact information is there. If not, feel free to message this page and I'll make sure to put you in touch with the artists. Now, if you have any questions, ask them now, because I just checked the time and it looks like we've been at it for over 2 hours now. We did start a little bit late, so time flies when you're having fun. So we want to let our beautiful artists rest. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask them now. And if we don't get to them today, we are having more of these and we'll make sure to answer these questions later on. So this is your last chance to comment, ask questions, etc., etc. And we actually have one more question from an anonymous person. This one you could have actually asked in the comments section probably, because there's nothing bad about it, but I understand that not everybody wants to show their face in the comments section. So this person is asking, what are some upcoming projects for you? I know that because of COVID and the quarantine, there's probably nothing going on now, but is there anything in the plans, or are you doing anything virtually, or is there anywhere we can follow you to find out about what you're doing next in life and project wise?
So I am in the Tri-Rose show at Universal, but that has paused, so that's still, I'm in it, but also haven't finished my rehearsal, so that is one of my upcoming things. But also, like, y'all probably gonna make fun of me, but I am on TikTok. Okay, I got almost 14,000 followers on TikTok. Follow me at Kiera the Unicorn XO. I have to think about it. So it's KIERATHEUNICORNXO. I got almost 14,000 followers there. I haven't posted a bit because I just started going back to work because of Disney and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get back posting. So I post funny things all the time. If you're into anime, I do anime skits with my friends. I play Sakura in our little videos and stuff. So, you know, check me out, you know, follow me, share my videos. I'm kind of funny sometimes, so.
For me, I'm not currently working on anything. I sort of want to get a little bit more into jazz right now. So I'm hoping that once bars open, I can have like a little, because I know a few of my friends that play, you know, the drums and the guitar and stuff like that. So I was kind of hoping to start a little jazz trio, but you'll have to stay tuned for that because COVID is making it a little bit hard to arrange. Boo, COVID. But in the meantime, if you do have any questions, you can find me on Instagram. I don't really use it for artistic stuff, but I don't really have anything else at the moment. But my Instagram is This Is Minova. So THISISMINOVA. So you can find me there.
And you can find me on Facebook, Reesie Davis, just how it's spelled on my little name tag, on Instagram and Facebook. You can also follow my organization page, Praise Productions, Praise with a Z. We're Praise Productions on Facebook, Instagram. As far as upcoming classes, we start our fall session September 14th, where we have classes for youth. So definitely, if you have any young people, we take them as young as 3 all the way up. And you can go to our website, praiseproductions.com. I will put it in the comments section. The next thing I'm working on besides the new season, we had to postpone our show, our production 9, which was supposed to go up in March due to COVID. We had to postpone it. So be looking for that for March 2021, where we hope to bring it back. So you can go to our website, go to our follow us on social media for any updates as far as our actual shows.
All right, awesome. Do you ladies mind just putting the links in the comments section just for those, so that people don't have to look for them on the event page, or like even your just Instagram, TikTok handles, anything, just put them in comments. And while you do that, last check for comments. We've got some hearts and smiley faces. Everybody's being positive. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Special thanks to, guess what? Kiera's family, yay! Because they've been super supportive. You guys are amazing. And I don't think we have any other questions. Yes, no more questions, just comments about how amazing you guys are. A couple of people messaged anonymously and said that they really enjoyed the stream and really enjoyed your work. So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you. You're beautiful. You're amazingly talented. I'm so glad we got to do this. And so now we will go into closing remarks. So if there's anything you ladies would like to add, say anything at all, now's the time. Whoever wants to go first.
I basically just want to thank the panel members. It's really nice to be able to spend a couple of hours kind of chatting with, nice, sweet, intelligent, lovely ladies like yourselves. And unfortunately, because of COVID, hasn't happened for a while. And even otherwise, it's sort of few and far between when I get the chance to actually talk to people so talented like you guys are. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm very honored to be here with you, and I can't wait to see what you guys have coming up soon. So I will be watching.
Well, yes, thank you. It was nice, awesome getting to know you guys, and I love how classy you remain the entire time, Thank you for everyone answering the questions and asking the questions. Thank you to my family. I didn't know that y'all was gonna stay the entire time. I know you guys said you're gonna see the beginning. So thank you for asking all these questions and just giving all of us, because thank you for supporting me and supporting these lovely ladies too. I love that you guys are not only just supportive of me, but you're supportive of everybody. So I appreciate you, family. And thank you, Julia, for inviting me too. Like, this was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous at first, but this was a lot of fun. Minus, the little sassy comments we got, but to say I still had a blast. So.
Yes, thank you so much, Julia, for this platform so we can continue to just share as we did. I think we gained just as much as the audience has. So thank you so much for presenting this platform and continuing to have these conversations that are so needed, especially in what's going on in today's society. I'm truly honored to share this panel with such beautiful and talented young women. Minova, I know you're gonna come with a first name basis, just like your mom said, and I'm sure you're gonna make not only her proud, but be a light into this world. You're absolutely beautiful. Kiera, you as well. I know you're gonna move on, do continuous great things and have these roles that even the ones that you couldn't even dream about. And I'm so excited to see you guys continue to soar and inspire. You're an inspiration to me. And I'm truly honored and appreciative to share this moment with you guys.
Thank you so much. And just a quick note, unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we couldn't play Minova's video today. But we will make sure to post it after the event once it's ready to be shared. So I'll make sure to post it on the event page or share a link. So we promise you'll get to see more of Minova. Promise, promise, promise. Pinky promise, yes. So thank you once again, everybody, for watching. And we got a few comments from people saying, great job, ladies. Your points of view, knowledge, and experiences are invaluable. Great job, everyone. I love you all, etc., etc., etc. So you are amazing, and thank you for doing this and answering questions. I appreciate you all, and you're all so beautiful and talented. Thank you very much. And for those watching, thank you again, and thanks for donating. We raised $145 today, and I know usually people donate more after these because most people, for some reason, watch after the video is not live anymore. So it's a great charity. Check it out. Share the video so other people can watch and donate and hopefully learn something. So hopefully everybody has a great night, and goodbye.